Greetings from Virginia Beach, Virginia. I am Professor Zahorian. I'm one of the full-time faculty here in the School of Communication and the Arts at Regent University. We're going to talk about exploring the Master of Arts degree in film producing and management. We get a lot of questions about just what is this degree? So let's start with what it is. So it is an online degree. You can do this completely online with 30 to 32 credit hours of graduate level study. We cover filmmaking, business, and logistics. We also look at aesthetics and story development. And I really like to call this what one of my fellow faculty members said, how to get a movie made. It is not how to make a movie. This is all of the work that goes into a film, getting to the place where you can produce it. So what it's not is on campus. This is all online. So we're not going into how to make a movie in terms of things like how to operate film equipment. That really is more boots on the ground. Talk to us if you want to do that. This is a great opportunity for people to learn about the process of producing, or if you are a boots on the ground filmmaker and want to learn how to fund and distribute your films, this is a fantastic degree. So here's a bit of a tour of the classes you'll take. There are some foundational classes that you really will want to take your first semester as soon as you can. Graduate Studies is either COM 500, which is a graduate level writing brush-up class and familiarity with what we have available through Regent, or if you've already taken a similar class like that, you might be able to take University Library, Information Research and Resources instead. This is where that 2 credit difference comes in, because that would just go over really the specific resources at Regent. So you'll talk with your advisor about the best one for you. And then there is really our keystone foundational film producing class, Film 520. It's called Business Strategy and Analysis of Film and Media. And we're going to look at both analysis of narrative structures and the basic nuts and bolts of producing. That's why you take this class first. It is an overview. It's also a class for some other majors where you can just kind of understand all of the bits and pieces that go together into producing. Then we'll go into more depth in each of those elements in 521 to 524. That's why you need to take this class first, so you get the big picture, then can get into specifications. So in those classes, your core producing classes, you can take them in any order. That's why it's important you take 520 first. 520 is the prerequisite for them. So in Film 521, Strategic Management, you're going to go over pre-production planning and work. This is really a lot of the roles of first assistant directors, line producers, and production managers. So scheduling and budgeting a film, and how do you manage a production once you are on set. In Film 522, IP and Ethics, that gets into the legal issues. Now, this is not a law degree, but every producer needs to have a good basic understanding. So when you talk to your lawyer, you understand what they're talking about and make sure that your creative projects can be distributed. There is a statistic that only 3% of indie films that get finished achieve successful distribution. So those 97%, many of them don't make it because the IP was not properly secured, and there are legal issues with ownership, copyright, contracts, clearances, all these things. Very important class. Of course, you can't make that film if you don't have money. That's what Film 523 covers. That gets into making a business plan, perspectives, pitch deck, and analyzing waterfalls for projects and how do films get funded. I say films, a lot of this applies to television as well. We just use films as kind of a catch-all. This is still, all of these things apply no matter what kind of media you're making. We tend to focus a bit on films. Film 524, Marketing and Exhibition, is marketing strategies. How do we actually get people to see our films? And how do they get exhibited, from traditional theaters to web and mobile technologies and new media distribution? So those 4 are foundational producing, production management kind of classes. Then you'll also take Film 550, Story Development. The full name of the class is Story Development for Production. So we look at storytelling from the perspective of a writer and a producer. So how do you give coverage to someone who's pitched scripts? How do you see if scripts are likely to match up with target markets? And what are the basic elements of storytelling? We also look at script formatting for putting your story in these standard formats for production so that your log lines and slug lines all work and you have everything formatted correctly and it can move forward. Now let's talk about that aesthetics and analysis piece of this degree. Film 560 is an introduction to film aesthetics and analysis. So that's going to cover the basic concepts. Once you take that class, then you will take one class in Film 561 to 569, which are specialized topics. So because 560 is a prereq for 561 to 569, I also recommend try to take that a little earlier so that you can make sure in your degree plan you'll be able to take a specialized topic you like. Now, 550 does not have prerequisites and you don't have to take this before you do your thesis. I highly recommend if you plan on writing an original project for your thesis, take Film 550 first before you do your thesis. So let's talk about that thesis. That's Film 620. It is a 6-credit thesis where you really develop a comprehensive plan for a film. This may be a film you wrote or a television show or media series. It's your baby of something you want to make happen. Might be your own work. It might be someone else's. But you would probably want to have the rights because you want all this work you do in this degree to be something you can go and use. So that's your capstone for the degree. So what you should gain from this degree are kind of 3 categories of knowledge: business, storytelling, and that big thesis capstone where you have a finished project that can go out in the world. In the business world, you'll look at film business plans and how those differ and are the same from normal business plans. A little bit on prospectus on how you would put that together if you're making a pitch. Really, when we make films, they are their own businesses in all manners of treating them. So it's important to know how to make that happen. Putting together film and television show pitches, financing, marketing, and exhibition, and production management, including some of those scheduling and budgeting techniques. From a storytelling perspective, we really look in this degree at developing stories that are producible. What is actually going to be successful in the marketplace? And of course, none of us know and can guarantee it, or else we'd all be super wealthy. And frankly, the world would probably be more boring if there weren't those questions. We'll look at the basics of script writing formats so that you know how to write a script, how to give coverage and evaluate scripts, and an aesthetics and analysis of film and television, both that basic class that covers the general principles of aesthetics and analysis, and then one of the specialized classes that you'll pick. Within that thesis, my goal is that everyone will end this degree with a project that is ready to go out and pitch. So you have a business plan or prospectus ready to take to a lawyer for review. You have your pitch deck and presentation pretty well honed for your project, and your preliminary planning, including a schedule and budget. Now, real world, you might not do that preliminary planning to that level before you have some traction on your project, but we want you to work on those skills. So I recommend you do your schedule and budget. The preliminary one, it will change once you're actually greenlit for a project in your thesis. So you really have a capstone project you have created. Now, notice I didn't say shoot a single frame of film. This is about the business elements you need to make a film. Now, all of this is great and wonderful and so important, but why should you do this at Regent other than the fact that we're actually offering an online degree in the business elements? Well, that comes into our Christian Foundation. If you are interested in a Christian foundation, our motto, Christian leadership to change the world, this is a good place to go. Now, we do not require that all students are Christian, so you may have a different worldview, or there may be people in your classes who do, but understand the professors will be teaching from a Christian worldview. All of us care about what we are doing. And I firmly believe this, that if you're doing this for Christ, strive for excellence. So going through this whole path of really digging into the meat and potatoes of the business end and making sure you have a story worth telling and producing is so vital to what we can do to change the world. So I hope that helped answer some questions about what this degree is.